Divorce Solution Show. We are here today with Vicki Vollweiler. She's the founder of College Financial Prep. And with her MBA in divorce coach training, she helps families maximize savings on the cost of college. Welcome, Vicki.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Catherine, hi too.
Yes, nice being here. It's nice being here, not having children in school. Mine are all grown.
Just
I still have a senior in college, so we're looking at graduate school now.
Wow.
I have one going into college. So we're facing the college applications and so forth. It's my third. So Vicki, why don't we start out and allow you a little bit of time to talk about yourself and your background and what you offer parents. And specifically today, we're going to be talking about separated and divorcing couples.
Sure. So first and foremost, I'm a divorced mom. I have my MBA and I've always focused on the analytics, the financials. I used to be a VP of client services, and I'd be negotiating the economics between clients and vendors. And I bring those skill sets today when it comes to colleges and parents and negotiating costs. After going through my own divorce, I decided to become a certified divorce coach. Still focusing on financials and people's financial well-being. Eventually, clients started to say to me, how am I going to afford to send my child to college? And this is the perfect fit to actually be able to help people save as much money as possible, especially when you're going from one household to two households. You know, there are legal costs, there are the costs just due to the separation. And I'm really able to help people save a lot of money on the cost of college. The results have been great. There was actually a separated woman I just worked with. She saved $5,300 for the semester. There was a custodial dad I had worked with. I helped him reduce his expected family contribution by $17,000.
Wow.
And there was a family with 3 children. And for the 1 year, 3 children, one is now a college senior, one is a college junior, and one is now a freshman in college. For the 1 year, I was able to save the family over $50,000. I mean, fabulous results. Yeah,
awesome.
It's so gratifying. I love doing what I do.
Yeah,
Wow,
that's awesome.
That's great.
You know,
Good for
right
you.
out of the gate.
It feels really good.
Yeah, right out of the gate, I'm reminded of a lot of questions always that are asked when we're doing financials, because a lot of states don't make it mandatory that either parent pay for college. Is there a benefit or not for actually having the wording in your divorce decree? I've often been told, don't put any make sure there's no language in there, because when you fill out these reports, they'll look at that. Is that true?
No.
I love your face.
I have not experienced that.
Okay.
If there is one college out there, it is possible, but no, I have not experienced that. You know, what I have experienced is whether it's a custodial mom or a custodial dad coming to me, and we could talk about the definition of custodial as it relates specifically to financial aid, because it could differ from, you know, what everybody knows is custodial. But what I have experienced is that sometimes they'll come to me and they're stressed and frustrated and this and that because it's not in their separation agreement or divorce agreement. You know, it was made many years prior. It's not in there. They don't know what to do. They don't know what's going to happen. There's no clear set of expectations. And it just causes a lot of anxiety for the parent, the child, for the family. You know, ideally, it would be best if it was in everybody's agreement as to what the plan was going to be. But what I do is I strategize with parents to create the best plan moving forward, depending on what the situation is. For instance, there was a woman I worked with last year. Her child is now in college, and she came to me with a binder. I mean, huge binder filled with court documents as to the reason why the child has zero relationship with, in this case, the father, and why that person was not going to be contributing towards the cost of college. And my role was to present a case as to why, you know, even though he wanted to apply to certain schools where they do require the financials from both parents, even in a divorce situation, why we were unable to submit those. So I'm not an attorney, I'm not a financial advisor, but I do build a case for the family to submit to make those arguments as to why either more aid is needed or why they can't submit financial information from one parent or the other.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
great.
that's interesting, because how many couples actually come back together to discuss this once they're divorced?
It's interesting. It's interesting because I'll have some parents who are separated or divorced, and we will all meet together to make a plan. And unfortunately, there are some situations where they just can't be in the same room. And it is very contentious. So every family, and I'm using the term in regards to separation and divorce, every family's dynamic is different. And my role is to try to, work best with the family and what their needs are to create that strategic plan,
Right.
and that will happen, the child is in ideally 10th or 11th grade. And then by 12th grade, we're going to be completing the financial aid forms, whether it's FAFSA and CSS profile. And that opens right now, October 1st. So now's the time to get on it when the schools have the most money available to give in terms of, merit scholarships. And then we'll continue on, and I'll work with families through the child's college career, even into grad school, to complete the financial aid forms. I mean, it's especially important, say the parents separate, divorce, whatever it is, when the child is already in college. With FAFSA, you're using tax data, tax returns that are 2 years old. So much could have happened in that family dynamic in 2 years. I mean, there could be a huge change in family income, especially if applying to schools where they're only looking at the custodial parent. So it's really important to know what you're doing to maximize aid.
Yeah.
But it can be done.
So a difficult one is, we see a lot of people getting divorced as soon as that last child's graduating from high school. So now you're in the middle of the divorce. How do you get it's October 1st now, let's just say I'm in the middle of the divorce, and I don't want to say that I'm going to pay for any part of the education because it's part of my negotiations or what have you. Who is the one to go on October 1st to file? Does it matter?
It's supposed to be the custodial parent. And what the custodial parent means is where the child primarily lives, no matter what's said in agreement, or even if it's not in an agreement, but basically where the child primarily lives. There even in cases where there's joint custody, they say they have 50-50. There are 365 days in a year. Where is the child 183 days of the year? And ideally that person's going to also reside in the same school district as the child. You can't play games. All of the colleges, it's very possible for a college to ask for verification, of the information that you submit, almost like a tax audit. You don't want to fool around with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Wow.
So I get the question a lot when the parents are filling out the FAFSA. How much access do either parent have to each other's financials post-divorce via that FAFSA or parental port?
So the FAFSA form, once they're separated, divorced, for a period of time, if only one parent is filling it out, the other parent should not be able to access that information unless the child provides access to the other parent. The child can access that FAFSA form too. Yeah. So, one parent can't decide to just go in and snoop, with the social security number, it's not going to work. However, if the child gives access, that's a different story. There's also another financial aid form called the CSS profile. That's used primarily by 300 to 400 schools, primarily private schools, names that you've heard of, whether it's, Syracuse University, George Washington, BU, NYU, Emory, so a lot of the name brand schools require that form. And not all of the schools, but some of the schools ask for both parents' financial information, even when divorced or separated. Even in those instances where both parents have to send information, they're still unable to see each other's financial information. So
That's
it's
good.
completely separate.
Yeah.
That is good. That's good to know. It's
Yeah.
also good to know that your child
Yeah,
can
definitely.
give you the information. So what is the change
It
then?
is the child's account.
Yeah. So
I'm sorry?
what is the change now with COVID and a lot of schools not opening? Are people shying off from applying or doing more online schooling? Like in the community colleges?
What I've been noticing is students are applying to more schools that are closer to home, perhaps, where it's easier for the parents to go and pick them up. So they may not be applying to schools where they need to fly so far, but, so it's definitely changing, perhaps the applicant pools, for each college. So there's good news and bad news in that. So the colleges are businesses and they need to fill seats. So some of the schools that haven't been able to fill seats, they are offering more merit scholarships to entice students to go there. I mean, on the other side, what, a lot of people don't often, realize or not even think about is that because the schools are businesses and because of COVID and like every other industry, so in March, they had to send all of the students home and they returned, refunded the room and board portions, of the, the housing, the funds. So they lost that revenue. Additionally, whatever conferences they may have had on campus, whatever like camp programs they had in the summer. So all this income didn't come in. So, I'm not exactly sure, or who knows, I'm sure there are studies, but their endowment funds, each school is going to be different, what they are able to give out. So yes, they need to fill, but they're also a little strapped themselves due to everything going on in the world.
So maybe it's easier to get into one of your reach schools.
Possibly, yes. It's interesting. It's people are definitely applying differently, but yes, because they need to fill seats, it may be possible. I wouldn't shy away from it, but at the same time, the student has to be willing to go. The family has to be willing for the student to go.
Right.
Right now, there are a lot of students that, they could be enrolled in a college 5 hours away, yet they're doing it from home because it's all about learning.
Right.
Right.
The family has to weigh their options and what makes most sense for that family.
Right. So how do you negotiate a fee? I know you mentioned that earlier. You mentioned negotiating college costs or no?
Well, so say there was a change in circumstances, whether it's a recent separation or divorce. Maybe there was a downward modification in child support. Maybe a parent is no longer receiving spousal support. Maybe there was a job loss. Maybe there was a medical illness. Maybe there was some change that caused the family's, I'm going to say household income, but even if it's a one parent household income to decline since the FAFSA form was filled out using old data, it's possible to request a review, a re-review of the financial situation, and it is possible to acquire more in savings.
And when would somebody do that? At the time that this hardship happened, or do they have to wait until a semester is over?
No. As soon as I'm going to make up. Say somebody loses their job, as long as FAFSA is on file, it's possible to request from the school this review. So anytime there's a change, so that way, if somebody separates when their child is already in college, it's possible to do this. That brings up FAFSA, and a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm not going to fill it out because my family's not going to qualify." Whether it's a single parent or a two-parent household, depending on their income, they say, "No, I'm not going to qualify." But there are so many reasons to fill out the financial aid forms. It's not just for need-based aid. It's to if the family's going to need to take out loans. Each student is, for freshman year, you could receive $5,500 in loans, sophomore year, $6,500, junior and senior year, $7,500. So even if the family earns $1 million a year, but they expect their student to have, skin in the game, you need to fill out FAFSA for the child to be able to get that really low cost loan that's solely in their name with no cosigner. Also, if the child wants to apply for work study programs, which I think are wonderful, if there is need-based, a lot of times also the schools require a FAFSA form on file to award merit aid, which sounds a little,
I wondered about that.
Yeah, but it's true. Not 100% of schools, but many schools require a FAFSA form to be on file to be eligible to be awarded merit aid. So you want to do it for that reason. And lastly, I like to say FAFSA is almost like an insurance product. If there's this change, if there's this job loss, if there's a separation, if there's, medical illness and, COVID and, a ton of medical expenses, whatever the situation is, because it's already on file, you could go and, ask for a review as opposed to waiting another full year to fill out the FAFSA form.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, that's interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think it's very important that people fill it out, regardless of their current situation.
What if you didn't fill one out and you were going for a loan? Would they say you have to wait the whole year, or you can go back and do the form?
Well, you could go for a private loan. There are private student loans available. But
you couldn't.
I think it is beneficial to do it through FAFSA, at least initially.
So is there only, when it opens October 1st, when does it close?
Oh, there's plenty of time for it to close. Really, it doesn't close till, say, June, but each school's going to vary a little bit. But again, what I was saying, especially for merit aid, the pot of money starts this big and then shrinks. So, it's important to do it sooner rather than later for that reason.
So they actually give out the merit money as they come in, they don't look at everyone's application and then give it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, usually it's, every school is going to be a little different.
Right.
But I don't know, where our viewers are applying. General rule is do it sooner so that you can acquire the merit aid.
Yeah.
I like that. So October 1st, everybody get out there this weekend, fill out your form.
Get it ready to push submit.
Get them
Pretty much.
Yeah. And I'm assuming, and I know we're running out of time, but I'm assuming that you also help families negotiate that merit aid if they don't feel like it's sufficient or enough, because I know that's negotiable as well.
It is. It's negotiable. There's certainly a better opportunity to receive more in aid due to the change in circumstances that, can build a case and document against. However, your child applies to school A and school B, and, they really want to go to school A, but school B gives a better award. It certainly is possible to try to negotiate, No guarantees, but again, you have to build a strong case. Is it a similar school? Is it similar program? Is it similar? You have to see what's what.
Worst thing they could do is say no.
Exactly. Exactly.
True.
Yeah.
No, definitely. I'm a firm believer. It doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you've been extraordinarily helpful today. That is a ton of information, jam-packed. Thank you so much. And so for our viewers, what will you offer to them and how do they contact you? I think you had told us you have an offering.
Oh, yes. So I always offer a half-hour consultation to prospective clients to discuss your situation and to see what we can do and, start to formulate a plan to help maximize savings on the cost of college. Everyone can reach me either on my website, which is www.collegefinancialprep.com, or you can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/collegefinancialprep.
And you deal with anyone throughout the nation, right?
Yeah, I work with clients from all over. It's great to meet people from all different areas.
Awesome. This is so good.
Well, thank you, Vicki.
All weekend, Karen. Have a good time doing your forms this weekend with Vicki.
Actually, we are. I started them last week, and I need my son Nick's help. So he's applied to a lot of colleges already ahead of the FAFSA. So I have to make sure I have that list, and you can only put 10 on there. So yeah, he has to help me out with that. It's good stuff.
Well, if you need any help, let me know, Karen.
Absolutely, I will. Thank you, Vicki. It's been great.
This is awesome, Vicki. Thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome. Thank you for having me on the show.